Hello and welcome to Trade Maestro. Thank you for joining us. We know your time is valuable and we take that very seriously. Our presentation will begin shortly. While we wait, please take a moment to fully prepare for the presentation. First, make sure your audio is working. You should be hearing sound now. Also, please remove all distractions. The information we will be sharing is very important and we want to make sure you get as much out of it as possible. And finally, be sure to have a notepad and pen so that you can easily take notes and write down references that may be discussed. Thanks again for trusting Trade Maestro with your trading education. We will begin shortly. For thousands of years, if somebody wanted to learn a new skill, maybe learn to make boots or horse saddles, how did they learn that skill? They studied with a master. Trade Maestro builds on this tradition, the relationship between the mentor and the apprentice, but we do it all online. The term maestro means master or an artist of consummate skill. And that's what a trade maestro is. It's a person who has mastered the art of trading. I didn't want to create just another stock market trading company that sells classes. I've done that, and I don't think that's in the best interest of my apprentice. I want to walk him through the process of becoming a great trader, and you don't get there with information overload. You get there by doing it, by getting your hands dirty, by putting into practice. That's the only way to build a new skill.
I love how Jeremy teaches. I love the fact that he teaches things in such a real, practical way.
And he made me realize that I can do this.
I remember when I first started my trading journey, and let's just say I blew up at least 2 accounts.
I know this model of learning to trade works. I've had the opportunity to work with people from over 80 different countries.
And I was skeptical at first. I was kind of like, okay, are you sure about this?
I was always chasing stocks. I would always chase the next hot thing and never had an opportunity to get any profit from it.
I've helped people with trading accounts that are just a few dollars, and I've helped people with trading accounts that are over $1 million.
These courses give me a much wider perspective on what is really possible.
And what Jeremy does so well is that he breaks it down in a simple form so it's easy to understand.
They're just regular folks, and if I can teach them, I can teach you.
I didn't want to let someone else tell me what the play was, and I just followed their lead. I wanted to learn it for myself.
My greatest joy is when somebody that I have taught over the last decade, they reach out and they say something like, you won't believe it, but I actually have people that are asking me to teach them how to trade. Is that okay? You think I can teach them?
Working with you taught me that, stocks go through ups and downs pretty regularly and pretty predictable.
The portion that my husband has now been able to take over and own has outperformed the market and is doing better than the rest of our retirement. It is totally life-changing.
Just to think that I touched people, I taught them to do something, I influenced a generation of traders, and now they're taking it forward and they're influencing the next.
At the end of the trade, I ended up making 140%.
Just gives me so much delight and joy knowing that I can still do something with my financial future.
This is not something that's only for other people. I can actually become financially independent.
Not only allow me to make better trades, more lucrative trades, but have more confidence while I trade.
This Trade Maestro membership is excellent because it's got something for everyone. If you're just starting out, or even if you've been trading for a while, you'll find something you like. You need to get enrolled right now. It's affordable. It's comprehensive. And it's risk-free because you can cancel anytime if you decide you don't like it. So if you want to learn to trade the stock market, or if you're looking to take your trading to the next level, you need to get enrolled as a Trade Maestro member right now. The following presentation is for educational purposes only. All examples and analysis are intended for these purposes and should not be considered as specific investment or trading advice. All examples are for the purposes of teaching and are not intended to suggest future results. The risk of loss in trading securities, options, futures, forex, and cryptocurrencies can be substantial. Individuals must consider all relevant risk factors, including their own personal financial situation, before trading. Options, futures, and forex are considered more sophisticated investment vehicles due to high leverage and are not suitable for all investors. Well, hello, and welcome everybody to Building Blockchains for this Wednesday, November the 26th, 2025. It is the day before Thanksgiving, and boy, am I grateful for you today. I am Jeremy Whaley, founder of Trade Maestro, and it is great to be with you as we're going to be talking a little bit about cryptocurrency today. And I got a unique show today. We're going to talk about something that is a project that I've just recently really learned more about and started to get involved in myself, and I want to share it with you today. So we're going to change up our format just a little bit. We're going to do our market update as we normally do. We are going to talk about Zcash and ETFs. We're going to talk about Robinhood and how they've been buying up Ledger X. That's an interesting story. And then I'm going to present to you a crypto project that I'm pretty excited about, and I'd like your feedback on it. I want to know what you guys think about it and see if it's something you're interested in as well. I also want to know if you like this format of bringing you different ideas, different projects you can look at, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go further today. So with no further ado, let's get started with some market updates. It is an ocean of green today. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And sure enough, we are back. Well, are we back? I think we're getting pretty close. I've been telling you this, but here we are today, up 3% on Bitcoin, back over 90,000. Ethereum's back over 3,000. Solana's back up to 144. I mean, we're humming right along here. XRP back to 223. That's 10% in, 2-3 days here. XLM's back up 26 cents. Cardano's back up. I mean, everything is going in the right direction. And like I've been telling you, you can't freak out whenever you get to the bottom, because that's where everybody freaks out. They all freak out at the bottom, and that's exactly the worst time to be freaking out. If you'd freaked out at the top, that'd been fine. You can freak out at the top, sell your position, take the profit. That's good. But if you freak out at the bottom, that's how you get hurt. So take a look here at the Bitcoin chart, and you're going to notice we got some beautiful candles building up here. Nice green candle today as Bitcoin is up over 2,000 points, 3%. And I want to talk about that really briefly here. You know, if Bitcoin's down 3%, everybody freaks out. Oh my gosh, it's down $2,000. Why aren't people celebrating when it's up $2,000? Why don't people like, oh my gosh, it's up 3%, it's up $2,000? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's an irrational response. People have a panic mechanism when they see it red, and they don't really celebrate the same way when they see it green. It's almost like they're believing they were entitled to it or something. This is the way the market operates. When you have something that's as expensive as Bitcoin at 90,000, you're going to see 2,000 and 3,000 point days, 5,000 point days, because that's the nature of something that's that expensive. So you can't freak out whenever you see big numbers in here. Today we're up 2,654 right now. It's just over 3%. And more importantly, as I talked to you the last few days, this candlestick right here, that long lower candlestick shadow at support does seem to be providing the support that we're expecting. Your stochastics is making its turn here, showing that the momentum is shifting. Our next target is going to be this purple line right here, just below 95,000. If we can get there and maybe plow right on through it, then will we be completely out of the woods? Maybe not completely. Most likely we'll probably test that from the top and then continue. But I think there's a pretty good chance that we will be back in a bullish trend from now through the end of the year. We'll wait to see if that's confirmed, but that is my short-term forecast. Pretty optimistic about that, at least in the near future, the fairly near future. So take a look over here at Ethereum. Same thing. And you're going to see this across the board. All of these basically are looking the same. We built our support. All the bullish candles came in, and we're starting to rally here. We've not fully reversed the bearish swing. I don't even want to call it a trend because it was a short-term pullback, really. But there's your moving averages right there. We have not confirmed a new bullish trend yet, but we are bouncing in the right location. XRP, this is a big story. I've been telling everybody, people weren't paying attention. They're like, oh, it's always going to go up. XRP, XRP. And when it started crashing, they're like, oh, what have I done? What have I done? And then people are selling. They're selling. Look at all this volume right here. Can you see all that volume? Right at support. People panicking and new accumulators coming back in to take on new positions. I told you back then, way back here, back in, what was it, August? As we made that first second peak, that makes no sense. As we made the first high and then the second peak, that was a lower high. That's what I was trying to say there. As we made that move back in August, I tried telling people back then that, what did I do? Where's my pen? There we go. I tried telling people back then that this was the beginning of a pullback. And you need to get your eyes on $2, and people didn't like it. Could have saved you 50% of trouble. Anyway, now I'm telling you again. We bottomed out below $2. We're back above our support level here, sitting at 223. My next future forecast for XRP, if this continues, do our basic trade setups right there. There's your entry, there's your stop, here's your target. Next target will be 340 with possibly some stopping points along the way of about 260 and just over $3 here. So no, I'm not a hater on XRP. I can't believe the hate messages I get. People telling me that I hate XRP and I'm an idiot and I don't understand it. I've been trading this thing since 2017. I know XRP probably better than any of them. And, you know, you can take it or leave it. I don't care. It's your money. Anyway, that's my forecast for XRP. Take a look over here at XLM. XLM doing the exact same thing. I gave you a big story yesterday on XLM, how US Bank is adopting and building the Stellar platform. Let me say that differently. They're building a stable coin on the Stellar network, Stellar platform. And that's a pretty big story. So, yeah, I think that's all going to be great for XLM. And I feel the same way about XLM that I do XRP. I think XLM actually has a little bit better opportunity right now. I think it's a lot easier for XLM to go from 26 cents to 50, which is almost 100% ROI. I think it's a lot easier for that to happen than it is for XRP to go from $2 to $4. Not saying that XRP is not going to go to $4. I'm just saying I think it's easier for XLM to go to 50 cents. That's all I said. Okay. So take that for what it's worth. Take a look over here at Solana, bouncing big time. I mean, it was just a week ago that we were down here at 120 and everybody was freaking out. What do I do with my Solana? And here we are, folks, bouncing bigly. I'm very optimistic about where we are in the market. Moreover, I'm going to take a look really quick over here at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And you'll notice the Dow Jones is up big today too. This is another bullish trend that is emerging and continuing. I've been very bullish on this from about the beginning of November. Let me finish my sentence before you judge me. From about the beginning of November, I was telling people I thought we'd have a pullback, and I got the recordings to prove this. Thought we'd have a pullback going into Thanksgiving, and then we would have a rally between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And sure enough, that's where we are right now. So as long as we can punch in a higher high here, just over 40, whatever that high right there is, 48,000 and change. As long as we can punch that in, this trend will be on its way. Our stochastics has completely reset. We're back to oversold, crossing up. This is fantastic. All of the signs look good. Despite the naysayers who are saying we're going to have an end of the year collapse. The people that are saying the US dollar is going to collapse and we're not going to have any financial markets and all the fear mongering out there. This Thanksgiving, you can be grateful that you're not listening to any of them. Instead, you're listening to me. where you're learning the truth about market momentum. Take a look over here at the S&P 500. It's also continuing its trend. And take a look at the NASDAQ. It is also continuing the trend. So, folks, we are firing on all cylinders. Now you know why I said it is an ocean of green today. That is the wrong button. Where's the right button? It's an ocean of green today, as all of the futures are up, all the indices are up, and frankly, things are looking really good for the last month of the year. All right. So hopefully that helps you, gives you a little bit of encouragement going into Thanksgiving tomorrow. And I think we're going to have a great December. It's going to be fun. Speaking of tomorrow, I will not be here because I'm going to be smoking a turkey. Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be smoking a turkey. I started brining it last night. We dumped all that mixture in there and apple juice and all sorts of stuff, and we bagged it up and we stuffed it back in the fridge. We said, thank you, turkey, for being here. Tomorrow is your day to be smoked. So we're going to smoke that thing tomorrow. And because of that smoking of the turkey tomorrow, I will not be here. But I will plan to be here on Friday at roughly the same time, and I would love to have you join me on Friday. Now, with that said, let's take a little bit of a look over here at some news. A couple of interesting stories today that are coming out in the world of crypto. Grayscale has filed to launch Zcash ETFs, which, if you're not familiar with that, I will explain it right now. So, really fast, who is Grayscale? Grayscale is a fund management organization. They have a Bitcoin fund and a bunch of different ETFs, and they were one of the first to put together any kind of crypto ETFs. Well, now they are launching an ETF on or built around Zcash. And I say they're launching it. They're trying to launch it. Now, Zcash, if you haven't paid attention to it, take a look over here. We're going to pull up our chart. And shoot, I just forgot the what was I looking for here? Zcash. Yeah. Sometimes that happens when your brain just quits in the middle of something. So I wanted to show you here with Zcash, we've had a huge breakout since October 1st. We were breaking out. Let's go back a little bit before that. We were around $50 a coin, and around October 1st, we broke out, and it's been up now. $5.16 is the current price. We've traded over $700, so that's a 10x ROI in about 6 weeks. Now, here's the truth. Everybody's flooding into it. Everybody's excited about it. Even Grayscale's excited about it, right? There's just one problem. Anytime something goes up this much this fast, it will pull back, and we're starting to see that with Zcash. We saw this with the quantum stocks like QBTS. I'll come back to Zcash in just a second. But stocks like QBTS, if you've been trading any of these, you realize what happened with these quantum stocks. QBTS, what were some of the others? Rigetti and IonQ and some of these. $7 back in May. By August, we're up to $16, $17. And then we rallied from $15, $16, $17 in September all the way to over $46. And we did that in a month and a half. So we'll just use this bottom right here, $16, we'll say, to over 46. It's a 300% ROI in like a month and a half. And of course, it collapsed. And why am I saying that? I'm not saying that Zcash is going to collapse. I'm just saying that what goes up must come down. And we need to have good, sustainable rallies in our trends. That's all I'm saying, okay? So does that mean that Zcash is a turd? No, I didn't say that. Does it mean that if you buy Zcash, you're going to lose a bunch of money? No, I didn't say that. All I said is what goes up really, really fast has to have some sort of a correction. We're starting to see some of that happening with Zcash. You're seeing a little bit of a consolidation here, but if you look at the percentages here and just the movement itself, you say, it's really not that bad, relatively speaking. And I would agree with that. It's not that bad. You've given it a chance for your momentum to kind of reset just a little bit here. It's getting close to the bottom. It's not quite there yet. I wouldn't mind seeing a bigger pullback like to 200. I know that's like 50% from where we are right now, more than 50%. But if we saw that kind of a pullback to around 200 and then we found some foundation here, got some basing, boy, that would set us up nicely for a strong rally moving forward. So that's just a little technical analysis to go with Zcash. What's the story behind it? Why is it rallying so much? Zcash is another blockchain that's actually kind of a fork off of Bitcoin. It's got a limited supply like Bitcoin. In fact, I think, going off the top of my memory, I think it's actually the same supply. I think it's 21 million, if I'm remembering correctly. But the big story with Zcash, the reason people are excited about Zcash is privacy. You can actually hide all the transactions on the Zcash blockchain. And so people think that's cool. And a lot of people who say they don't want the government knowing what they're doing or other people to see the full transparency of crypto are saying, you know what? I think I might like the Zcash world. And that's one of the reasons that people are flooding into Zcash. Now, should you flood into it? I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I am saying it's an interesting story. And the other part of it that's really interesting and maybe a little bit more interesting is the fact, the reality, that Grayscale is expanding and getting into an ETF surrounding Zcash. I think that's interesting. Why? Because what it's showing is it's showing that not only have the people, the citizens, been demanding that we have broader exposure to crypto via ETFs and regular marketable securities, but you're seeing now that fund management companies like Grayscale are also jumping on board with that. So I think that's really good for the world of crypto. I think it's good for everybody all around. We'll just create more demand, create more awareness, and it's just more evidence that the entire world of DeFi is taking over, and traditional finance is going to be a thing of the past eventually. Let's take a look over here at the next story. Robinhood makes a push with... Let me read the actual headline. Robinhood makes prediction market push with the purchase of former FTX platform LedgerX. Now, if you're not familiar with FTX, they were a exchange broker type platform, trading platform for Forex. Excuse me, not for Forex, for crypto. That had really made a headway in the world of derivatives in the United States. And I was pretty excited about it. And then turned out that, well, there was a little bit of fraud going on, a little bit of money laundering, and maybe some politicians involved with that as well. So, yeah, that fell apart, and Sam Bankman-Fried had to go bye-bye. He was the leader of the whole shebang. But there were some things in the platform that were really good, and they called that platform LedgerX. Now, another company bought that, and the name of that company, I'll tell you in a minute, is... right here, it's MIAX, I think is how you pronounce that. MIAX has been the operator of the CFTC-regulated derivatives exchange, LedgerX, which it acquired from failed crypto exchange FTX in 2003. Here's the deal. This is why it's a big deal. Robinhood is a fairly major player in the world of stock trades and equity trades and option trades. And for Robinhood to be taking over, merging with MIAX, and getting the LedgerX platform, and I would assume they're going to start integrating into Robinhood, that is a pretty big move, especially moving towards having full-blown derivatives trading here in the United States on cryptocurrencies. So I think that's great. I'm excited about it, and I'm not actually a fan of Robinhood for other reasons, which we probably should have a different episode on. But I do think it's great that we're resurrecting the LedgerX platform. And I think that it's great that Robinhood's going to put some money into it and promote it bigger. So there you go. There are my thoughts on all of that. All right, today I want to actually change our pacing just a little bit, and instead of doing a Crypto Basics traditional segment like I normally do during this time, I want to actually feature a pretty new cryptocurrency, a coin that's known as TEXIT, T-E-X-I-T. And I've called this segment Why TEXIT Could Be the Future of Community Commerce. And you can tell me by the time we're done if you agree with that statement. Could TEXIT be the future of community commerce? I also want to get feedback from you by the end of this segment if you like this kind of a feature, if you like the idea that maybe not every day, but maybe once a week, we feature a different crypto project and what they're doing well and what I like about it or what I don't like about it, and bring it to you as a community. So give me some feedback on that. But before you give me that feedback, let me make a little presentation here and see what you think about TEXIT. So again, I've called this Why TEXIT Could Be the Future of Community Commerce. And let me give you a little bit of background. For those of you who don't know me as well, I started trading back in 1999. And I was actually in college at the time, left college, was kind of trading in the background, doing my music career, was a professional music producer here in Nashville for almost 9 full years. And kind of towards the end of that, there was a combination of events that were going on. One event was the music industry was going through a depression. That kind of hurt my finances just a little bit. And I was also starting to get really overwhelmed and kind of unfulfilled in the music industry and just a lot of moving parts. And I was saying all along for about those last 4 or 5 years, if I ever left music, I'd like to get into finance. And so that was kind of in the back of my mind, and I'd been playing with it, yada, yada. So that's about a 10-year chunk of my life, right? In 2009, major changes happened in my life. I left the music industry, and I actually started teaching other people what I had learned about trading. And I launched a company similar to Trade Maestro, and we started doing extremely well. Now, if you remember back in 2008 and 2009, there was a big financial crisis going on, and people were in a huge panic because they didn't know what to do with their stock positions and their retirement portfolios. And so it was a ripe market. People were excited for what we were doing, and our business took off like a rocket. And by 2012, I was feeling like, the headlines, they're telling me the story. And I kind of felt like I had arrived. So when one of my employees showed up one day and said I should start buying into Bitcoin, and they started showing me charts and saying, look, I've been doing some analysis on Bitcoin, and look, it's gone from like nothing to, I think that time it was like $100 or $200 a coin, maybe 1,000, I can't remember. But, it had done something pretty well. And I told him, I was like, no, Michael, I said, I'm not interested. I said, look, I know what I'm doing. We're making all this money. We're helping all these people. And I'm the king. I know what I'm doing in the world of finance. And Bitcoin will never get there. Bitcoin can never do it. And I just couldn't see it. I couldn't understand it. It seemed hard. It was hard to get into, get your money on chain so you can actually buy Bitcoin. Like everything about it was hard. And of course, there's no substance to it. So why would anybody be buying into this digital thing? That was my story back then. Well, I missed the Bitcoin opportunity completely. And by 2017, if you guys remember, Bitcoin was $17,000 a coin. And I was sitting there on the sideline. Simultaneously, I missed another opportunity. And that was the XRP opportunity, because the same kid, Michael, who was working for me at the time, he came to me about a year later, 2013, 2014, and he was telling me about XRP. And he says, look, you can get into this thing for 3 cents. And he was telling me how he bought all these coins for himself and for his family and for his mom and dad. And they had, at that time, like a lot, 400,000 or 500,000 XRP. He bought a lot, and he bought it for sub 3 cents. I remember he got a bunch of it at a penny, and he was telling me, you should be buying XRP. And once again, what did I say? I know what I'm doing, Michael. There's never going to be a future for this stuff. And I brushed him off. And by 2017, when Bitcoin peaked and when XRP peaked, I called Michael, and at that time XRP was like a little over 250, I think, for a day. And here Michael was an overnight XRP millionaire, and I'm sitting on the sideline saying, all right, talk to me now. And that was when I started getting involved in cryptocurrency, because it took a lot of pain to miss all of that. So it was in 2017 when I started buying crypto. I bought my first XRP after it crashed, after the big 2017 run up. And I've been learning about and really interested in crypto ever since. In addition to the trading piece, what has kind of been frustrating to me, especially as an entrepreneur, as a business person, what's been frustrating is my lack of ability, if you want to use that word, maybe not the right term, but I've been looking for ways to get involved other than just trading. And so as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, once I started to see the idea, once I started to see blockchain, I was like, how can I get involved in this crypto industry on a business side, on a more enterprise side, not just trading? Not that I had any problems with trading. I've been doing it since 1999, and I like it. And you've probably heard me say I've never lost money trading crypto. I've done lots of round trip trades, especially on XRP, XLM, and a whole bunch of these, but I've never actually lost money trading crypto. That's almost completely true. If I'm really candid, there's been a couple of meme coins that I threw some money at, but I wasn't expecting to make money, so I don't count those. But with the real level 1 main crypto projects, I have never lost any money on crypto. Can't say that about stocks or anything else. But despite my trading success, I've been looking for ways to get into the more business side of crypto. And that culminated with looking into mining, which was hard, it was expensive. And then eventually this past summer, I even made my own Trade Maestro coin, which some of you may have seen, you may have it. And I would even be willing to probably give you some if you asked really nicely. Now, the Trade Maestro coin, I think, is a great project. I'm super excited about it. I love the white paper that I put together for it. It's a great use case. I think the coin looks pretty darn cool right there, and I'm proud of it. There's just one problem that I ran into as I was kind of putting this whole thing together. I realized I don't have enough community to ever drive demand or value for this coin. And so that was the thing that I ran into, is how do I build the community? There's no demand for it. The technology's there. The technology's fantastic. The use case is awesome. But how do I make it valuable so that people can not just hold the Trade Maestro coin, not just, be using it as a reward system, but how can we turn this into something that's traded on a public exchange and there's actual liquidity for it? And so it was a question I've been wrestling with. And these are just some of the I'm not even telling you all of it. This is just some of the loose ends and some of my background of how I got to the point where I'm at today in the world of crypto. Enter a presentation that came to me first in April, and I laughed it off. And then it came back to me around September, maybe first part of October of this year. And I started to take it more seriously. And that is this project called TEXIT Coin. So I want to share with you a little bit about TEXIT Coin right now. Now, like I say, I first heard about TEXIT Coin this past April. And at that time, TEXIT was maybe around 50 cents. And I laughed it off. I said, it's just another meme coin. My friend, who didn't really present it very well, she said to me, oh, you're buying miners and they're going to send miners to your house and you're going to be making all this money. And I was like, come on, it just sounds like it's not what I'm interested in. It was $1,000. And I was like, you know what? I can go buy 3,000 of these coins on the market for the same $1,000 and I'll just ride the market wave. And that was my thinking behind it back in April. Well, fast forward, another friend of mine, she came along, like I said, into September, beginning of October this year. And she said, you really didn't look at this very good. This is a different friend. And she explained other parts of it. I started looking at it deeper and I said, this is actually remarkable. It might be the kind of project that I want to get involved with. So let me share some stuff about it with you. All right, so the first question is, what is TEXIT Coin? Well, it's a layer 1 blockchain, similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a layer 1 core blockchain, and TEXIT Coin is a level 1 core blockchain. It is a proof of work algorithm, again, similar to Bitcoin, and there's a limited supply, just like there is with Bitcoin. The difference is with TEXIT Coin, that limited supply is 353,396,296 coins. Why they didn't round it to another number, I don't know. Never thought to ask that question, but 353,396,296. Sounds like a good number. That's the limited supply that will ever exist for TEXIT Coin. The last coin is scheduled to be mined around 2162, which, if you do the math on it, puts us about 137 years in the future, which is way beyond your lifetime or mine. But maybe my great-grandkids will still be here. Every crypto needs 3 things to succeed and to be successful. And this is what I ran into with the Trade Maestro coin. The first thing that every crypto needs is a real use case. And I have a great use case for the Trade Maestro coin. Like I say, I believe strongly in this project. I'm not giving up on my Trade Maestro coin. I just have run into a little snafu. It's like, oh, I got to build a demand for this. And based on all of my research, the typical time frame to build a demand for a really major project, and I don't think Trade Maestro Coin is a major project, so we'll call it a minor project, but for a really, really major project in the world of crypto, you're looking at about 2 to 4 years to build 100 to 200,000 person user base. Okay. Well, I was kind of hoping for 2 to 4 weeks. So I was a little off with my expectations. So for me, that wasn't something I could do very quickly, is build that big community. But the use case I'm really excited about for Trade Maestro. That's why I say it's kind of easy. The economic engine is the second thing that every crypto needs a good use case, it needs an economic engine, and then there's that third aspect, which is the community adoption. And you just heard me talk about my own personal experience with my Trade Maestro coin. What I found is the use case is easy, the economic engine it's feasible. I mean, it takes a little work, but it's there. It's not that hard. Building the community adoption, that was the part I underestimated when I went and built a crypto. And that was the part that really got me interested in what they're doing with TEXIT Coin. And I'm going to show this to you over the next few minutes here, and you're going to see why I'm so blown away by what they're doing. Because when we break these three things down, all three of these aspects, a real use case, they have an extraordinary use case. An economic engine, check. And then the community adoption is unlike any project I have ever seen, including Bitcoin, including Zcash, including all of them. I have never seen a crypto project put together a community adoption plan the way that TEXIT Coin has. And for that reason alone, I'm excited about this project, and I think it's going to be a huge moneymaker, one that you guys might want to consider. So let's look at the economic engine first. I'm going to save the use case for the end. Let's look at the TEXIT economic engine. What is an economic engine? Every crypto project needs some way to create value incentives. There needs to be a reason that somebody who's interested in trading this thing would say, yeah, I can collect value from this. What is the value going to be behind these coins? In the world of Bitcoin, that comes from mining. So people spend energy, they have their computers going, woo, they're mining, solving the problems. And in exchange for that real effort that you didn't do, but your machines did, and the real energy that you paid for, in exchange for that, you can mine this little thing called a Bitcoin. Now, once upon a time, it didn't have much value, but today, every time a block is mined with Bitcoin, that mining machine gets about 3 to 3.5 Bitcoin per block that they mine. And you can do the math on it. With Bitcoin at 90,000, that's almost $300,000 to mine one block of Bitcoin. That's why people are excited about mining Bitcoin. Ethereum, they have their own version of creating value incentives. For Ethereum and for models that are a proof of stake algorithm, what you do is you stake your cryptocurrency, you buy it up, you stake it so it's got value in it, and you're giving it back to the project kind of like a collateral. And in exchange for that, you're taking risk and you actually can earn incentives from it. Okay, that's interesting. So now we've built a way for Ethereum to build value by people putting money into it and then putting that money back up as collateral. Let's take a project like Uniswap. If you're not familiar with Uniswap, it's a decentralized trading exchange. And the way that they've created a reward system is by opening it up so an individual like yourself, like myself, can become a liquidity provider for their exchange. So we have a decentralized trading exchange. You've heard me talk about these. A decentralized trading exchange where individuals can fund the liquidity pool. And in exchange for their putting capital into the liquidity pool, in exchange for them funding the projects and letting the little automated market makers do their thing, what do we get? We earn liquidity rewards. A little piece of everything that happens, kind of like the market maker, but a little bit different. But what a great mechanism. One that, honestly, I've also been looking at getting into is the liquidity pool providers. But these are just 3 examples of how a crypto project can build an economic engine. TEXIT Coin solves this with mining via a proof of work algorithm. Basically the same concept of what we've seen now from the beginning with Bitcoin. A few machines go out there, they go to work solving puzzles, solving problems, and once they solve the problem, once they solve the puzzle, boom, it's solved. They mine the block, they move on to the next one, and the blocks are rewarded, or the tokens are awarded, coins are awarded, okay? That is the idea of proof of work. Now, it's a known formula at this point. I mean, we're 16 years into this journey of Bitcoin, and so people understand. If you understand Bitcoin, people understand how the mining process works. But as I started getting into mining, one of the challenges that I ran into is the miners were really expensive, like way more expensive than I realized. That was the first thing. But the one that shocked me was the energy costs. Whenever I look at the energy costs for running an at-home mining center, the units that I was looking at, basically they were going to say that it was going to pull about as much energy as my entire house every month. So my energy bills would literally double, exactly double. My current energy bill is around $300 a month. And according to the numbers that I ran, if I were to buy one of these mining units, which was about $8,000, and if I were to put it in my house, then I create two new problems for myself. Number one problem is I've got all this electricity that it's using, doubling the value of the electricity of my house. So I'm going to go from a $300 a month electric bill to a $600 a month electric bill. Okay, well, great. I'm going to get a lot of Bitcoin, right? No, it turns out that the amount of Bitcoin that these machines are going to be mining is about $300 a month worth of Bitcoin. So there's no economic incentive for me to mine Bitcoin because it's too expensive and the energy is too expensive. And then I also have the problem now I got a heat surplus in my house. I got to figure out how to get all this heat out of the unit. So I started looking a little bit deeper and I realized that I could take this operation and I could move it to a state like Oklahoma or Texas where they have much cheaper energy costs. And out in Oklahoma and Texas, some of you might be there, you can actually mine in the world of crypto for about a sixth of the price of what it is in Nashville, where I live. And there's companies out there that have hosting farms and I could send my unit out there and they could mine for me. But I still, spend $8,000 or $9,000 to buy a mining unit, and I'm going to make like $100 to $150 a month in Bitcoin rewards. I'm looking at like 2 to 3 years before I break even on my miner. And by then, it'll be obsolete. So I didn't really feel like it was a really good option. And then to top it off, you got so many people that are trying to mine Bitcoin right now. And the break even is so far out, like I already mentioned, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Well, TEXIT Coin actually has solved this. And they solved it by, instead of having a situation where individuals need to buy miners and put them in their house, we can participate as an individual, you and me, as a fractional mine owner. So they've taken the miners, and the way that miners work is you have all this hash power. Let's say it has 2,200 hash power for a mining unit. Well, the way that TEXIT Coin approaches it is they say we're going to break that into hundreds. And so each unit is 100. Okay, so every 100 hash power, we'll sell that off as a fraction. So now individuals can be fractional owners in a mining unit without having to put up the full amount of money. That's pretty darn cool. And it's community supported. So this is a great idea. Next, they're based in Texas, where we've got energy at a sixth the cost of the national average. This is fantastic. The next way they solved a problem is they started mining an exclusive coin that they called the TEXIT Coin. So instead of going out and trying to compete by mining Bitcoin or trying to compete by mining Litecoin or some of these other coins that are out there, instead TEXIT Coin said, we're going to create our own. We're going to close the system so we can't have millions and millions and millions of people trying to mine our coin, fighting over it. We're going to have an exclusive over how we mine the coin just for our little mining operation. That's pretty cool. So now we got a community mine where multiple people have fractional ownership. We got cheap energy. We have an exclusivity to the TEXIT Coin itself. And guess what? There's limited competition. They've limited the mine to only 1 million seats, 1 million people that can participate at any level in this mining operation. So what they created is they took all the weakness of mining and they found a solution for that, and they put it all together into this package or this opportunity that they call TEXIT Coin. And best of all, there's no big money to compete with. There's no BlackRock fighting to get into it. There's no JP Morgan. There's no ETFs fighting to get into it. Why? Because it's exclusive just for the community. What a unique proposition. So now let's look at the community aspect of it. So I just shared with you the economic incentive. It's a mining operation similar to Bitcoin or Litecoin or other similar projects that are proof of work, but it's an exclusive operation. It's an exclusive coin. It's an exclusive opportunity. Now let's look at the community aspect. As I already said just a moment ago, when I built my own coin, my Trade Maestro coin, one of the things I ran into is, wait, how do I get a user group big enough to create demand for this? Every crypto project has that challenge. And as I researched this a little bit, I went to ChatGPT because, that's where everybody goes to research these days. And I asked, what is the average that it takes for a cryptocurrency to go from startup to, having a user base of 200 to 300, 400,000 people? And according to ChatGPT, the most successful cryptocurrencies to launch to that level of a user group within a short period of time, the most successful is the BNB coin, which is the Binance coin, but they already had a user group at Binance. And it took them 18 months to attract an adoption of over 200,000 users. But according to according to ChatGPT, on average, it takes about 2 to 4 years for a new layer one blockchain to get to 100,000 users. And then it takes within maybe another 2 or 3 years, so about 4 to 6 years from conception, for a blockchain to get up to 250 to 500,000 users. Okay. Now, why do you say that's interesting? Why am I throwing these statistics at you here? Because what TEXIT Coin did is they found a way to solve the challenge. They said we need a high demand for our coin. Most of the coins that you see out there are pump and dump. And so you see the Hot Tua Girl or the Fart coin or the Pepe coin or all these different meme coins come out on the market. And what happens? They go out and they hire all these social media influencers. And the social media influencers are like pump, 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 pump. And then somebody does the rug pull and it's done. And you never hear about Hot Tua Girl again. Right? The alternative is you have the long-term slow growth, which is sustainable long-term, but there's not a lot of momentum. And I can tell you a handful of projects. I can think of one right now. Electronium is a great crypto project. It's fast. I mean, there's so much within that blockchain. They just can't get the adoption. It's been around for a long time. I started hearing about Electronium almost 10 years ago. I mean, 2016, 17, somewhere in there, maybe 2018. And they're still just basically a penny stock, but it's penny crypto, right? But it's a great project. And there's a lot of those. There's a lot of crypto projects that are basically sitting in the graveyard with no attention. So Texit solved this by saying, we're going to build a grassroots movement. They said, we're going to have a crypto mine that's owned by the community. We're going to build the community for the mine. Instead of going out and finding 8 or 10 big venture capitalists or one person to fund this mining operation, they said, we're going to take it to the people. We're going to go build a grassroots campaign to get out there and build our mining operation. And in the process of doing that, we're going to double down on the incentives and we're going to incentivize them to share with other people. And as we're incentivizing people to share, we're building the community as we build the mine. Mind blown. When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, they solved the problem. Of course, this is the most logical way ever. And in the process of that, they've created a movement that becomes worth joining. So it's not just we're building a mine. It's not just we're building a crypto community. There is a bigger purpose behind it. There's a movement. There's a purpose. There's purpose, an actual calling behind the operation. And if you can put those aspects together, you can create an absolute dynamite project that can grow very quickly. And you're going to see in a moment that they have grown very quickly. So let me talk now about that project. What is the movement behind it? The movement is to return to the original roots of crypto. Back in the day when Bitcoin came along, crypto was supposed to be about freedom, right? Crypto was supposed to be about individual autonomy. And instead, it's been taken over by big money. If you look at just some of the numbers, for example, this chart here from Bitcoin Treasuries, you're going to see that we've got 20%, more than 20% of the total Bitcoin supply is just completely owned by funds and big money. Okay, so that means that 1 out of every 5 Bitcoin is owned by big money. Of that, most of it is the exchange-traded funds. A big portion of it is publicly traded companies. Governments have a big chunk there, private companies, DeFi smart contracts, little tiny, exchanges and custodians. That's the little small sliver up there. But what you can see is that big money's taken over Bitcoin. The very thing it was supposed to get us away from is the exact people who have now infiltrated the world of Bitcoin. Take a look at this chart right here. I'll make it full screen for you. You can see at the top, the largest holder, the largest publicly disclosed holder of Bitcoin is MicroStrategy at 649,000 Bitcoin. The second largest is less than a tenth the size at Mara. I mean, let that sink in. The largest publicly disclosed holder of Bitcoin, 649, almost 650,000 Bitcoin. One person could tank the whole operation if he decides to get reckless. I personally think Michael Saylor is starting to make a mistake because he's too lopsided, in my opinion. It's probably a rabbit hole we don't have to go down, but you just think about it. What if Michael Saylor needs to get rid of his 650,000 Bitcoin? What if MicroStrategy needs to drip them into the market over time? They can't just liquidate them quickly. Now, Michael Saylor says he's never getting rid of them, but what if things change? You know, people get married and they say they're never getting divorced, and apparently 50% of people do. So I think Michael Saylor has made a big strategic blunder. But that's beside the point. Opinions aside, is it not alarming that Bitcoin has been taken over by a small handful of people and it's big money? That takes us away from the very intention of what crypto is supposed to be. So TEXIT Coin has solved it. They've created a blockchain that's owned by the people. The mining operation is owned by the people. It's designed for the people. And the use case behind it, yes, it's powered by local energy, but more importantly, it's about the community itself. And what they're building next are local layer 2 stable coins for the local communities that people are operating in, starting in McKinney, Texas, where they're founded. In McKinney, Texas, they are starting to adopt in downtown McKinney a layer 2 operation where you can exchange your dollars for McKinney stable coins that are layer 2 coins. Now, this isn't rolled out to the public yet, but this is the beta project. And there's hundreds of communities across the state of Texas, and they can take it outside of the state of Texas. The amount of momentum that is building behind this project is unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's super, super cool. And so when I started to understand that and I started to say, wow, what they're doing is they're taking the money back to the people. They're putting the money back into the local communities and they're building commerce in the local communities. It's like, this is the greatest grassroots operation I may have ever seen. I mean, this takes grassroots to a whole new level. You've integrated literally everything. When you think about the real use case, it's easy, and they integrated it with a mass community for grassroots. When you think about the economic engine, it's pretty well known, it's solved, and they integrated it through the grassroots community. And when you think about building the community, because of the community that they're integrating into the use case and the economic engine, the community actually takes care of itself. Today, as I'm presenting this to you, there's over 50,000 people that have already bought into and built into this mining operation. And by February, March, they're expecting to have over 250,000, which will make it one of the fastest growing layer 1 communities, to have ever been built, which is just absolutely fascinating to me. So how are they doing it? Well, here's how they're doing it. Here's the rollout. The rollout is phase 1. They're building the world's largest privately funded crypto mine in Texas, okay? Distributed across Texas using the philosophy of decentralization. There's not just one location. There's going to be 35 locations across the state of Texas. Secondly, they're doing it via crowdfunding instead of big private equity funding. So they're putting the money back in the hands of the people, giving them rewards immediately. And now we have a divided ownership into 1 million seats. So you don't have one individual, one big player that can take down the entire operation. I think it's brilliant. I personally think it's absolutely brilliant. Now, anybody, people like you, people like me, can get involved for $1,000. You get started with mining for $1,000. And I think I have a slide in here. I'll find out in a second. When I was looking at miners, it was $9,000, okay? $5,000 at least. But there's a lot of different ones that are out there. But to get the really good ones, you're looking at thousands and thousands of dollars. And now you've got to manage it. You got to pay for the electricity. Well, with this project, what they've done is they're managing it all for you. They're taking care of the electricity, and every day you earn a little bit of TEXIT coin, and it's going to continue doing that for the next 135 plus years. As I said, look at this miner right here. This is a very typical one. You can look at these over at OneMiners. I think it's oneminers.com. But a very typical miner, $10,000 for a machine like this. And you can see the projection is it's going to make you about $7 a day. Okay, well, you can do the math on that. It's going to take a while to break even. That's for 20, I guess that's gigahash. I don't know how you measure that. GH. So phase one is to build the mine. They've done that. They're making it accessible to the average person. They're building the mine. They're funding the mine with average people, and they're building the community as they do it. That's why I think this is the most unique thing I have ever seen. You can earn additional mining power by sharing with others. That's how they're incentivizing people to share and to spread the message of TEXIT Coin. Whenever you share with other people, you get more mining power. I mean, how cool is that? Can you imagine in the beginning of Bitcoin, if people who shared Bitcoin got double the Bitcoin hash? I mean, how cool would that be? Of course, they didn't do that, but that's what TEXIT Coin is doing, and they're spreading like wildfire because of that. They're building a huge grassroots army, an army that is not just excited about it, not just invested in it, but they are empowered by the purpose, by the mission, by everything surrounding the entire ecosystem and the culture of TEXIT Coin. And honestly, I think they're building a machine that can't be stopped. So I've gotten excited about it. I'm showing you right here how you get daily rewards. This is getting paid out daily. This is not staking rewards. This is not one of the weird, nefarious, opportunities that you find all over the internet, all over the world of cryptosphere. Physical miners, real location, real rewards. It's a real project, and that's why I think it's going to take over. I really do. So here's the result. They're building the world's largest privately funded crypto mine, huge grassroots army. Right now it's over 250,000, or it's going to be 250,000. Right now it's about 50,000. And the community wins, not the big banks. Pretty darn cool whenever you look at it. Here's the price of their token. You can see back in March and April, whenever I first looked at this, you can see why I laughed at it. I said, nope, nothing's going to happen. I don't have a clue why TradingView puts this spike in here. But I didn't think it was going to happen back in April and March. I couldn't see it. And I would get pitched junk all the time, so I assumed it was more of that. But then as I kept watching it, and then when my friend Erin came back in September, she said, look, we're already at $3, dude. We're at $3 and we're not stopping. And then within just a few weeks, we peaked over $7. I said, yeah, okay. I get it. I missed the boat on Bitcoin. I missed the boat on XRP. I should probably get involved with TEXIT. So I did. And you can see right here, even though we've had a pullback recently, based on what I've just been teaching in the last couple of weeks, what do you see? You see a trend line emerging because the future is bright. The future is very bright. You can trade XRP, or excuse me, you can trade XRP too, but you can trade TRX on all of these exchanges: MEXC, Bitmart, XT, Uniswap, Biconomy, DexTrade, Pionex. They got some bot trading up Pionex. Pretty cool. I started doing that. PyCall and Jew.com. And there's more that are coming online. This is a real project, folks. It's taking off. And if you haven't looked into it yet, you need to. Personally, here's my opinion. Since the early Bitcoin days, I haven't seen a project that I think is more true to the culture, the nature, and the intention of crypto than TEXIT. The guys who created this, the vision of the guy who's behind this, truly has captured the spirit of crypto. And because of that, I think it's a great opportunity. All right, so I'm going to be putting some more stuff up on my website, jeremywhaley.com/TEXIT. I don't have anything up there today, but maybe by tonight I will. You can learn more at texitcoin.org. And as always, you can reach out at trademaestro.com, trademaestro.com. Reach out, send me an email, jeremy@trademaestro.com. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments here. And what do you think? Is this a project that you think is interesting? Is this a project you think you could be interested in being part of? Do you think it's crazy? And as you look at the content for the Building Blockchain show, what do you think of highlighting different opportunities like this? Is this something that you're interested in seeing? Let me know what you think in the comments so that we can try to tailor towards that. If you haven't liked and subscribed so far, you need to do so. I don't know why you wouldn't have done so already. I would assume you already have. But if you haven't done so, please do. Like and subscribe. Follow me over on Rumble at Trade Maestro, on YouTube, Real Trade Maestro on Telegram. You guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. We will not be here live tomorrow, and I'm not planning on doing a recorded show. We just won't have a show tomorrow. So we will not be here tomorrow. It is Thanksgiving Day. We will be grateful. Friday, we plan to do a show. Until then, I wish you the best. Happy trading to all of you. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon.